Threats of global conflict typically trigger the movement of troops and supplies, but the current tension between the U.S. and Iran suggests a different motivation. The loud drumbeats of war may be a cover for an economic grift. During a White House briefing, Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt fielded a highly specific question about whether Arab countries would pay for a war with Iran. This was a planted question, a calculated effort by the administration to introduce a controversial policy through a scripted inquiry. The financial pressure behind this question is immense. The U.S. and Israel are already burning through hundreds of millions of dollars every day. With midterm elections approaching, the administration knows that passing this bill to American taxpayers would be political suicide. This plan faced a massive diplomatic hurdle. The U.S. launched strikes without consulting Gulf states like Saudi Arabia or the UAE. Expecting these nations to finance a military campaign they did not approve is a significant strategic miscalculation. The administration is posturing for a massive regional conflict that it cannot afford to bankroll on its own. This disconnect between rhetoric and resources has created a strategic vacuum. Domestically, the administration is trapped. Popularity ratings have fallen below 40%, making the deployment of American ground troops a non-starter. They cannot risk the political fallout of a new, troop-intensive war. This caution matches the commander-in-chief's personal history. Despite his aggressive rhetoric, he has shown a consistent, long-term aversion to the risks of military service, famously avoiding the draft in his youth. Instead of using American forces, the administration is demanding that regional allies either deploy their own soldiers or sign blank checks to fund U.S. operations. Since these allies have no intention of providing the money or the manpower, the administration's threats have hit a wall of reality. The persistence of these warnings, despite being practically unfeasible, suggests the objective is not a military one. The logistical reality of the administration's threats proves how difficult these goals would be to achieve. The scale of the proposed campaign is simply too large for the current resource plan. Take the first objective, capturing Karg Island. This massive, infrastructure-heavy target handles the vast majority of Iran's oil exports. Simultaneously, destroying desalination plants while holding the Strait of Hormuz open for trade requires a massive, constant naval and air presence. The most complex goal is extracting 1,000 pounds of highly enriched uranium, distributed across a multi-building complex. You cannot secure it with airstrikes. It requires specialized ground forces to physically enter every building. If even 50 kilos are lost in the chaos, the mission fails. Because these objectives require a massive influx of American boots on the ground, the one thing the administration refuses to provide, these military threats are functionally impossible to carry out. This creates a contradiction. If a war is too expensive and logistically impossible to fight, why does the administration keep threatening to start one? The strategy relies entirely on narrative flipping. One day, the White House claims Iran agreed to every demand. The very next day, they threaten total annihilation. These wild fluctuations in tone trigger immediate and severe volatility in global markets. This volatility creates predictable, highly lucrative windows. For those who know when the next threat is coming, it's easy to short or pump assets to capture profit. With a tactical military victory off the table, the administration has pivoted, turning the mere threat of war into a tool for market manipulation. Mohammad Baqir Ghalibaf, the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, has gone public with accusations regarding exactly how this scheme operates. He alleges a specific sequence. A threat is posted to social media, oil prices react violently, insiders trade the resulting gap, and then the narrative is suddenly reversed to reset the market. This cycle has turned the commander-in-chief's social media feed into a reverse indicator for profit-taking. If they pump the threat, it's time to short. If they dump it, it's time to go long. This is a repeated, intentional pattern. We see the same cycle of false starts and sudden de-escalations happening over and over. By engineering this predictable pattern of volatility, the administration generates wealth for those who know exactly when the narrative will flip. The speculation isn't limited to oil. It extends directly into the defense industry, involving the very people orchestrating the military plans. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is at the center. He's the primary architect of the very strikes being used to rattle the markets. Just weeks before the US and Israel launched strikes, a broker affiliated with Hegseth explored a multi-million-dollar investment into defense-focused exchange-traded funds. These funds are tied to contractors like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and RTX, companies that profit when demand for high-tech weaponry increases due to regional tension. Modern warfare has evolved into a geopolitical grift. The loudest threats are weaponized not to defeat a foreign enemy, but to manipulate global markets and enrich decision-makers, all while avoiding the bloody reality of actual combat.